Hello, friends. Just waiting for folks to join us for our 8-shaft skill builder. Hi, everybody. We are getting things queued up, and I'm just waiting for guest of honor, Christine, who it looks like is going to join. Laura, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes. Oh, let me get my lights. I always forget this part.
The staging of the scene. Very
Yes,
important.
exactly. And
Yes.
I will preface this by saying I'm expecting a UPS delivery and my dogs may lose it. So apologies if we have barking.
That's the live experience. We
It
wouldn't have
is.
it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, this is exciting. Hi, everybody, for being here. Ordinarily, when we kick these off, I sort of give a little introduction and then I turn things over to Christine, who is here with us today. But today we're doing things a little bit differently because Christine is our designer and guest of honor. So I will be stewarding the conversation for us. So I'll still give a little introduction for everybody. Hi, Dana. I love seeing some names that I am familiar with on there. Um, all right, so welcome to our Instagram Live for the 8-shaft Skill Builder subscription box. Christine, it looks like you're frozen. Are you still with me? Let's see. Let's see if Christine is with us. We may need to re-add. This is all part of the live experience, folks. All right, let's try this one more time. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, as we get everything queued up. Okay. Let's see if we can re-add Christine in here. Okay. Thanks for being patient with us, folks. We're just going to get Christine re-added because it looks like she is frozen for just a second. Let's see, I just accepted Christine, so let's see if we get things going again. Hello,
And we're back.
we're back in action. Perfect.
Hopefully we won't glitch again. Anyway, hi.
Hello. All right, so I will kick things off. This is the Instagram live conversation for our 8-shaft skill builder subscription box. And we've done these before for our rigid heddle variation, but this is our first one for the 8-shaft skill builder box. This is very exciting. I'm Anna, I'm GIST's creative marketing manager. And this is Christine Jablonski, who is GIST's director of content and customer experience, but she is also the designer of the Block Party 8-shaft skill builder box. So very excited to be here with you today, Christine.
Thank you.
And thank you guys. If you are a 8-shaft skill builder subscriber and you're watching right now, thank you for participating in the Facebook group that we have set up for subscribers only. It's so fun to see everybody's progress shots. You're helping each other out. You're
Oh my
answering each
God.
other's questions. It's really exciting to follow along. So thank you all for your participation there. Um, this is an opportunity for our subscribers to get to ask Christine any questions that they might have, or to bring up any discussion topics that they might want to hear about, or just learn any little tips and tricks that Christine has to offer. So if you have anything that you want to float through in the comments, I'm going to keep eyes on the comments during the conversation. So feel free to input any questions or anything you have. But if you have a specific pattern question, a technical question, please email us that at hello@gistyarn.com because we really want to make sure that we're providing you with the best support we can. So we're going to keep this conversation a little more general. Those specific questions, put those in our email inbox for us, please. All right, so a bit about Christine as we kick things off. Christine is our Director of Content and Customer Experience here at GIST, which means that she's responsible for nurturing our relationships with current designers and finding new designers to partner with and bring you engaging content and patterns that are both fun to learn and to weave. And in addition to that, she is also a weaving designer and an exhibiting artist whose work has been shown in New England galleries and is held in private collections across the country. She is a contributor to Little Looms and Handwoven magazine, and she is the author of Soul Space Notes, which is a Substack column on weaving art and life. So thank you, Christine, for being with us today and every
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. It's nice to see you here in addition
Yeah,
to every day when I see you at work. So,
exactly. So exciting. Okay, so as we get into it, how did you first come to the world of weaving? What was that journey like for you?
I arrived as a knitter, and I had been knitting for, I don't know, probably 10 years or so. I was kind of a late to life fiber person, and I had been knitting a bit and had developed what I felt like was an obscenely large stash, which was literally about one bureau drawer full of yarn, of skeins of yarn. But I was feeling very guilty about buying more yarn if I wasn't going through what I already had. So, uh, this is back in the day when the Stitches conference around the country was still a thing, and Deborah Jarko, who is one of our designers, was teaching bust your knitting yarn stash, learn how to weave a scarf on a rigid heddle loom, and I thought, perfect. So I took that class with her, and that year everybody got scarves, and got scarves for Christmas. And then I kind of stalked her for a few more years and took some more classes with her the following year. And everybody got runners and tablecloths that year. And then the next year she was teaching at Convergence and teaching double weave. So I spent a week with her on that, and it was fantastic. And I kind of went back to knitting for a while, but then around 2016, I want to say, I came back to weaving. And I'll do that. Haven't looked back since. I still have the same project on my needles from 2019. It's sitting in my project bag. But I've sort of become a weaver who now can knit. Oh, and by the way, my stash did not get any smaller. It just, and then I came to work for GIST, and it really didn't get any smaller. So it wasn't, it was a great thing, but it did not solve the problem I had at the time. Let me put it that way.
Yes, I've definitely seen the shelves of yarn behind you, and it's a beautiful, beautiful stash, I will say. Awesome. So you started on rigid heddle. What was
Mhm.
your first loom? What was the model? Do you remember?
It was a shacked cricket. I believe it was a 15-inch. I think I bought it at Stitches on the show floor after I finished up the class with Deborah, went downstairs to the marketplace, bought the loom, and came home with it. And that was the first one. And that was just a single heddle. It wasn't a flip. I traded it in for a flip eventually, which I still have, by the way. So.
And what other looms do you have? I know you have certainly transitioned onward from only having rigid heddle. So what
Mhm.
other looms are in your collection?
Um, there's there's a four shaft Leclerc, 27-inch. There's an eight shaft Louette David. There's a 45-inch 12 shaft Leclerc. Have I used all 12 shafts? No. But have I used the whole weaving width? Yes. And there is a 22-inch Harrisville 8 shaft loom. Up until last week, there was also a 22-inch 4 shaft Harrisville loom, but I was running out of floor space and I didn't need both. So the 4 shaft was rehomed to somebody who's learning how to weave. Oh, and then there's another rigid heddle loom, which technically is Gist's, but it's sort of been in my house for 7 years now. So I think it's kind of mine now at this point.
Yeah, that sounds
So
about right. Yeah,
Hmm.
amazing. So as you were working your way to eight shaft, what was that journey like? Because I know eight shaft can be feel like an intimidating step for some people to move from the four shaft to the eight shaft space, or even just from the
Hmm.
rigid huddle to the multi shaft space. What was that
Hmm.
journey like for you?
I had, I really love my rigid huddle, but I'd been weaving on a 15-inch, and I did everything I could to push the bounds of that, and was, weaving with two huddles and doing double width. And it got to a point where I was doing a lot of, I had a lot of commission work, and I was running into some walls on things that I could do, or that I wanted to do. Actually, I should say, as things I wanted to do. And my husband just said, "Well, you just need a bigger loom." And nothing says happy anniversary, honey, like we're driving an hour and a half to Worcester to go pick up a pile of sticks, which I came home and then reassembled, which I had to do immediately because I knew that if I didn't do it, it would stay disassembled on my studio floor and I would never do it. I was actually terrified to start. I put it together. I couldn't find any weaving classes or teachers near me, and so I sort of just gave this loom a very wide berth and kind of walked around it for many months, and then finally bit the bullet. And I think I watched Barbara Elkin's video on warping back to front. Barbara Elkin's from Webs, and then I just got a book and started going with it. Found a teacher, and then was kind of off to the races and that lasted a good, I want to say, 5 years or so. And then about the time that we started carrying Louette, I had everything I was looking at, or everything that sort of showed up in my feeds, was all eight shaft. So I said to my husband one morning, I think I'm just going to have to buy a Louette brand new. Which honestly, I've never bought a loom brand new. I said, but I can't, you can't find David's anywhere. People buy them and they hold them. And then he sort of did this and said, oh, you mean like this one that's an hour away on Craigslist? And so then I went down and got the loom from this person in Craigslist. And that lasted about a year and a half. And then everything that started popping up in my Pinterest feed was all 12 shaft, or more than, well, I should say 9 to 12 shafts. But I was really more interested in weaving wider. So I found this monster of a loom, and it is a beast. It is fun to weave on because it is so kind of rangy. Um, but in terms of the kind of the learning curve, I I don't know. Feel like it was I didn't feel like it was incredibly challenging from the perspective of like, well, it's just four more shafts. And so, but things happen. Like, you have to be much more aware of floats. And for example, in fact, I was doing a project, was my first project on an HF loom. And it was like a huck project, but I was doing it in cotton, and it ended up with these enormous floats. And the person who was kind of teaching me at the time was like, why did you do that? I'm like, well, I wanted to try it, and it was a mess. But so I learned that kind of the physics change a little bit when you have more shafts, and you have to just be more mindful of things like that. But it was a great learning experience.
Yeah,
I won't do that again.
absolutely. Yeah, I think like with anything, there's more complexity, which makes it more interesting. But with that complexity, there's so many more variables where things could potentially go wrong. So the troubleshooting is like
Uh-huh,
more complicated than
uh-huh,
ever before, but worth it, definitely.
uh-huh. It was funny. I had designed, I thought I was so smart. I had designed a deflected double weave project on 8 shafts, and I'm weaving along, and I can't figure out why this one shaft just isn't working. And I almost just sort of like, I almost called Lisa Hill to be like, what am I doing wrong? And then I looked up, I had it tied up incorrectly. I just had one thing was not where it should have been. And it's the simple things. It really
Yeah,
is the simple things.
yeah, totally. Amazing. Well, as the designer of the 8 shaft skill builder box, the first one in the series, I'd love to hear a little bit about how, because as director of content, this was also sort of your full idea, the 8 shaft skill builder box. You brought this to fruition. You were really passionate about 8 shaft on the just team and making sure that that was provided to all of our weaving community. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear a little bit about your inspiration for this 8 Shaft Skill Builder box in general, and then also your block party series that you designed.
So let's see, I'd really been wanting to do more with 8 Shaft for a couple of years before we really started making a big push into the space. We just have long been um, have been, a home for newer weavers, and but we also want to kind of hang out with them on their journey as they go from, wherever they are, from wherever they are to wherever they want to go. And one interesting thing happened during COVID was that we sold a lot of rigid metal looms, as one might expect. But the folks that got into weaving on rigid heddle, like really got into it, and then wanted to add shaft loom weaving to their repertoire. And I had at that point a number of conversations with people about, well, should I go to 4 shafts? Should I go to 8 shafts? And it always resolved to, if you have the budget and the space, go go with go with as many shafts as you can, because you can always weave a 4 shaft project on an 8 shaft loom, but you can't weave an 8 shaft project on a 4 shaft loom. And yes, the question came up like, well, it's, what do I do with those extra 4 shafts? I'm like, you will get there. So when we launched the skill builder in rigid heddle skill builder in January of last year, we had this magnificent outpouring of requests from people who said, are you going to do this for 8 shafts? As I went from rigid heddle to 8 shaft to an 8 shaft loom, and I'm weaving on 4, but they really wanted more, I think a more of a curated path, so to speak. So that was kind of the inspiration behind the whole concept. And then what I really wanted to accomplish with it was to take drafts and favorite projects from the GIST library that people had woven and were comfortable with and enjoyed, that were 4 shaft projects, and then expand them to 8 shafts to show you what you could do now that you have these extra 4 shafts. So then the concept grew to not just Block Party, but the rest of the boxes for the year, which I will get into in a few minutes. But this first year is really about that continuum of you've woven things like this on 4, but here's how you can then take it to 8. So with Block Party in particular, I called it Block Party because you have now more design blocks available to you. So for example, the Bronson lace scarf, the first project, was based off Sarah Resnick's Cafe Table Runner from years and years and years ago, when it was one of our first duet projects, and people loved it. And in Bronson lace on 4 shafts, you have 2 design shafts. With 8 shafts, you now have 4 extra design shafts, and so you can really expand your, where you're putting your floats and what the designs look like. And so that project was, one project, 1 threading, 1 tie up, 1 treadling. Although there were a couple of extra drafts available because I couldn't decide which one I really wanted to publish. So I wove one and included a few extra bonus drafts in case people wanted to get some more ode and do something further with it. Moving on to M's and O's, the M's and O's towels, that was drawn from Christine Sai's staggeringly beautiful M's and O's towels on 4 shafts. And again, that was taking the design blocks and really blowing those up to, the additional shafts that you have available to you. And in that one, 1 threading, 1 treadling, 1 tie up, but then multiple treadlings. So I wanted to explore what happens when you go from your standard M's and O's treadling to now, you don't have to treadle M's and O's, you could treadle twill. You could treadle straight draw twill, point twill, and it gives you sort of more things to play with, more tools in your toolbox. And then the third project, the turn twill napkins, we joke often that like we could publish straight draw twill all day long, and people would just love weaving towels and whatnot out of them. So I just took the 4 3 2 1 and 8 7 6 5 and alternated those in a certain way, and same treadling for all the napkins, same threading obviously, but the tie-ups there, that was the fun part to play with, because with twill you have many options for tie-ups. You can do a 2-2 balanced. You could do a 1-3 unbalanced. You can do basket weave. You can do plain weave. You can do broken twill, kind of damask-y sort of things, satiny sort of things. And then you can combine all of those in one draft because you have 4 options. If you look at your tie-up, right, you've got 4 squares. So that was just playing with different tie-ups and getting similar designs, but with different, kind of with the same motif, but with different, different effects within each. So
Ugh, I
that's
love
a really, that was the Titanic version of the inspiration. So,
I love it. It's
so
people love hearing the thought process behind the projects. I do too. I think, there I do get to engage with these and with you learning about these, but I love hearing the deeper thought process behind it. And even looking through the pattern files and everything, it really does feel like infinite play. It's just like
yeah.
every pattern, there's different variations. You included extra files, and it just feels like, oh my gosh, there's so much opportunity for customization and
Mm-hmm.
exploration. And I think that is really what HF has to offer is it's just like you can get off to the races in so many different directions. And I love the colors too, the color they chose. It's so bright and cheerful and just, oh, I love it. Especially those napkins, the purple, so gorgeous. Amazing.
I do like the napkins.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so let's see, what should we go to next? Maybe talking about the skill builder moving forward and just things that are forthcoming down
mm-hmm.
the pipeline. You mentioned that you have some perhaps sneak peeks or samples that you might like to share with us. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything that you're super stoked about upcoming that you would like to offer a little snippet of?
All of them. I am incredibly lucky that I actually have the entire year's projects sitting on my desk right now. These designers are fantastic, and they all got their work in so early, and it's great. It makes my life much easier. Um, and what was really fun was in working with all of them. We talked about sort of the inspiration and the idea behind like let's take existing things or existing structures that people know and love, and now what can you do with them? So in May, Christina Nichols, who designed those beautiful Lakeview placemats, and what else? The Pebbles
Apple.
shawls, both the scarf in Ode and the shawl in Sero. She took some other basic twill structures, waffle, like a point 12 waffle weave, and some honeycomb things, and what else? Oh, and a color and weave application, which is really cool. And took those to 8 chefs, and she did a placemat that is, it combines log cabin and houndstooth. It's just so much fun. You'll have to wait until May to see that. But I will show you the one of the waffle and twill towels that she did. It's like it
Amazing.
looks like a lot. It looks like latte or hot
Yes.
chocolate, and it's like the squish factor in this is just it's unbelievable, and I love it. And it was so much fun to photograph. And the really cool thing about this is she uses 6 of the shafts for the pattern, and then 2 so that you can get plain weave borders, so that you don't have these like messy, weird, wonky selvages, and it just makes waffle weave really, really spectacular. Then in August, we have Lisa Hill, Elizabeth Hill of Creamsicle Towels fame, doing a series of double weave projects for us. So it's 2 warps, 3 projects. If you've never done double weave before, or even if you have done double weave, this is going to be spectacular. She's doing, the first project is napkins, and you're weaving 2 napkins at a time, completely separate pieces of cloth. So you weave 2 and then another 2, cut those off the loom, reslay, and then she has you doing a set of placemats, which are layer exchange placemats. So you get these like gorgeous
Oh,
graphics like that on one side and that on the other. And the way she hems them is beautiful. She does teaches you how to do a tubular, like a weave a little tube at the end, so you can tuck your ends in and stitch them up, so they are truly, absolutely reversible.
that's amazing.
Beautiful. She's so great. Then in November, Rachel Simmons is bringing us some diversified plain weave. And we don't have too many projects of that. We've got one that's kind of similar on Four Chef that Mariah Zhu did in her last year, fourth quarter. It was a scarf. So you're using thick and thin in the warp. Hers gave a real kind of corrugated, wavy texture, like an accordion. It was really pretty cool. Rachel Simmons, though, is doing this amazing series of projects where the pattern changes. So we've got like this is a runner, this is one side of it, and like that is the other side. And her colors are just like incredible. And the hand on, she's got a series of towels in it. The hand is just gorgeous. So I don't know too much about diversified plain weave, so I'm really excited about learning along with you all on this one.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Just stunner after stunner after stunner. So beautiful.
and then I'm working on next year's. So I've got some good ideas percolating there. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh my gosh. Subscribers, you've been given a exclusive sneak peek. I hadn't even seen those last two, and those are
Yeah.
oof, gorgeous, amazing. So you mentioned when you were just showing us the waffle weave towel that it was amazing to photograph. And I think some people might not know that as our director of content, you are the magician behind all of our photography styling and you are on all of those photo shoots, making everything look beautiful. Your role as director of content and customer experience is vast. You do many, many beautiful things, but do you have a favorite part of that role?
Ooh, the photo shoots are really fun. And our photographer is brilliant. As he says, he uses his good camera for our stuff.
Yes, thank you,
Um,
Ian. We love you, Ian.
we love Ian. We love Ian so much. God, the photo shoots are great. Working with the projects is just so much fun. I, you know, it's hard to say which part is my favorite, but I'm going to go with working with the designers because it's so interesting to kind of have this thought that like, oh, I feel like we should be doing something like this. And then finding a designer who like this is exactly the person who should be, who should do this. Or something just kind of falls into our laps, or I'll have, a designer will be like, hey, I've been playing with this idea. What do you think? And we just have these amazing conversations about like, well, what is the intent behind this? What's the purpose? What are people going to learn? How can we, like, what does this project want to be? Because sometimes it'll start out as one thing, but given what's happening with the yarn or the structure or whatnot, it becomes something else. And so it's a fascinating process to, work through that with somebody. And I also have to just say that, especially with the boxes for this series, the, these designers, they're like brilliant and fabulous, creative, funny, smart women. And it's just like, it, it just makes my life better. I
Yeah,
guess I would have to say. And it's not like we don't have guy designers. I'm actually working with two, just not for this series. So guys, you are not left out. You are not left out. I have some wonderful male designers as well. But
yes, we love it.
um, for this series this year, it's just been a really wonderful group of folks to work with.
Oh, incredible. That's amazing. Ugh. So you as the designer, also, we're getting down to our last few minutes here. So if anyone has a question that they'd like to throw into the ring, please do feel free to comment those in and we will get them into the conversation. But we're getting down to the end. So I'm going to ask a couple of sort of final questions for you.
Mhm.
For our subscribers of the current box, are there any tips or tricks or just mentions that you'd like to point out to people about this current series of projects?
Sure. So first of all, there was a question about wet finishing the alpaca scarf. So I'll just knock that out first. Wet finishing alpaca is not scary. Honestly, I just soak it in. I take mine, I soak it in tepid water with some wool wash, or you could use a mild soap. Oh God, what is it? Like Dr. Bronner's Castile soap I use sometimes if I'm out of wool wash. So just a little bit. I like the wool wash because you don't have to worry about like rinsing it out for some reason. It doesn't. it doesn't leave behind any kind of weird, residue. I soak it. Um, I agitate it a little bit, make sure that all the air is out, and I will leave it actually for a good long while. Sometimes I've dropped it in the basin, gone to do something, and realized like 3 hours later, oh God, I'm still in there. And it's fine. Honestly, I think the more it kind of hangs out in the water, the better it gets, and it blooms really, really beautifully. Squeeze it when it comes out of the water. Do not twist or wring. That you won't be happy. So just squeeze it, roll it in a towel, press it, and then let it air dry, and it should be wonderful. With regard to ode, and I'm sorry we're doing this sort of so late in the cycle. Ode is one of those yarns that is incredibly lofty. It's got a lot of air and it's really easy to overbeat. I believe I said in the pattern just to really pay attention to your PPI. Um, but ode needs a lot of room to breathe, and it weaves when you're weaving it balanced, it looks really open and sleazy on the loom, but that's really where it needs to be in order to really bloom into its full lusciousness. Um, what else? With regard to PPI, uh, the the M's and O's towels. Those were the EPI can move around a bit on those depending on which towel you're on. So I, said in the pattern, just like aim for your certain length. If you're at 13, if you're at 15 PPI, it'll work itself out, but just make sure that you've got enough warp. So, but don't get too hung up on it. If you're within a range, you'll be okay. And then let's see, on the napkins, that you do want to pay attention to your PPI and really kind of try to beat the square to make the motifs all work out. But that's a lot. I find with beam, it's a lot easier than with either mallow or ode. Let's see, there's a question on, do I ever use fabric softener? I don't use fabric softener wet finishing. I just use a mild soap, and that's it.
Awesome. And for our subscribers, on the note of ode and PPI, there are a couple of photos that show you sort of what it is going to look like on the loom, then what it's going to look like post wet finishing. So you can look at those pictures, don't fear. It's a real trust the process
Mm-hmm.
moment when you're working with
Yes,
ode and weaving lace, but especially working with ode.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Awesome.
don't want to run out and you also don't want to overbeat it and make it too, I mean, it's hard for ode to be stiff, but it'll have a lovelier drape in hand if you beat it a little bit more lightly.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
welcome.
Amazing. Okay, I think we're getting down to our final minute. So, a final question for you. What is your
Mhm.
desert island weaving technique or item, or both?
Mm. Well, I love towels. So I think like anybody, I love towels. So I could weave towels all day long. Oh, I like scarves too, though. So, but I don't know. I think I'm going to go with towels. In terms of technique, uh, mm, I'm going to exercise executive privilege here and go with one per loom.
That's
So
fair.
if I had a rigid heddle loom, I would do color and weave all day long. If I had a 4 shaft loom, I'd probably do canvas weave. I'm having an obsession about canvas weave right now, so that might turn into a collection for 4 shaft. Um, and then for 8 shaft, I think I would do half draw. I love Ariana Funk's half draw towels, which I had the opportunity to reweave a couple of years ago, and that was on 4 shaft. But then I took that idea to 8 shaft. I did some a pillow project, and I've played around with some other designs for 8 shaft towels in half draw with beam and duet. So fun,
Amazing.
so fun. So those are what I'm going to go with.
Excellent picks. I approve.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that just about does it for us today. So thank you all for joining us and for asking questions. Thank you to all of our subscribers for being part of the HF Skill Builder box. As you can see, there's some really exciting stuff coming up over the next year. So we can't wait to get that into your hands and keep posting in the Facebook group. We love to see it. It's so fun to follow along. And thank you, Christine, for designing this gorgeous series of patterns and being the magician that you are at
Oh,
GIST and coming up with these wonderful concepts that are so exciting for our community to engage in. And thanks for chatting with me today.
well, thank you. And I also want to thank the subscribers because this was a bit of it was a bit of like leaping into the abyss for me, like in terms of taking on this kind of making this kind of a commitment for just to like these patterns, these yarns, these designers, all, that's a lot that goes into this. But also as a designer to go out with the first box is like, oh my God, am I going to throw a party and no one's going to show up? But you all did. And the photos are amazing. And I'm just like so beyond thrilled and humble and grateful that you all have shown up the way you have. Is it's just fantastic to see. And you guys make it all worth it for us. So thank you.
Yes, these patterns are, they're great to see on the PDF and the WIF pages, but it's better to see them on all of you guys' looms when you post the
Yeah.
pictures. So thank you guys for your support. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out then. I will see you probably very soon. Goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.